Last month, a judge issued a temporary restraining order preventing Mayor Tiffany Henyard from making certain appointments without approval from her supervisor. The ruling came after a series of public controversies and legal battles that have engulfed Dalton, Illinois, in a storm of political drama. In an interview, Henyard acknowledged the immense pressure she is facing due to lawsuits, restraining orders, and public outrage, even comparing her situation to the plot of a novel. She admitted that her reality only seemed to get messy by the day. But what led to this political firestorm, and how did she end up in such hot water? Let's dive into the chaos surrounding Henyard's leadership, her legal troubles, community unrest, and growing hostility, which have made Dalton a hotspot for political drama. At the heart of the controversy is the ongoing conflict over village board meetings. You might think these meetings would be routine local officials gathering to discuss budgets, ordinances, and community matters, but in Dalton, things are far from ordinary. Henyard has been in the headlines for months, but not for reasons that would inspire confidence in her leadership. The issue began when Henyard insisted on holding village board meetings at Dalton's Village Hall, a decision that sparked an unexpected chain of events. On the surface, holding meetings at the Village Hall might seem like a logical choice, but there was a major flaw: the building lacked the capacity to accommodate the growing number of residents who wanted to attend these meetings. The Illinois Attorney General's office pointed out that state law mandates local governments to hold public meetings in venues large enough to ensure that all community members can attend. This regulation is in place to promote transparency and public participation. As Dalton's population grew, so did the demand for people wanting to voice their concerns at these meetings. Despite clear indications that the village hall wasn't large enough, Henyard remained adamant that the meetings should continue there. Her refusal to acknowledge the space limitations led to frustration among residents who felt their concerns were being disregarded. After multiple requests to move the meetings to a larger venue went unanswered, the Park District trustees stepped in. Recognizing the need to accommodate more residents, they offered their facilities as an alternative venue. This new venue was larger, more accessible, and in compliance with state regulations. However, Henyard and some local officials weren't convinced, arguing that the Park District was an inappropriate place for government meetings. This sparked a fresh wave of tension. On one side, residents saw the move as necessary to ensure transparency and inclusivity. On the other, Henyard's opposition further fueled distrust in her leadership. What started as a simple debate over meeting locations quickly spiraled into a full-blown political crisis. The situation worsened when Henyard's refusal to relocate the meetings led to legal battles and escalating public anger. Lawsuits piled up, increasing legal costs, and many residents began to question Henyard's leadership. Some even accused her of wasting taxpayer money on unnecessary litigation, further eroding her credibility. As meetings continued to be held at the Park District, it became clear that the dispute was about more than just a venue. It became a struggle for transparency, accountability, and inclusiveness in decision-making. The legal costs of this ongoing battle mounted, creating additional frustration among Dalton residents who were forced to watch their tax dollars disappear into what many saw as unnecessary lawsuits. The controversy raised questions about whether the local government under Henyard's leadership was truly serving the community's needs or simply engaging in political battles. What began as a seemingly minor disagreement over meeting logistics transformed into a political and legal nightmare for Henyard. Board meetings, once seen as an essential forum for local governance, became a symbol of dysfunction in Dalton's local government. The ongoing drama has left many residents frustrated, wondering when their voices will ever truly be heard. In the midst of this chaos, Henyard's leadership is increasingly in question. Her political future is uncertain as the community grows disillusioned with the ongoing legal and political battles. What was supposed to be a simple matter of finding a venue for public meetings has turned into a complex web of lawsuits, public outcry, and political infighting. The mess is only growing, and Dalton residents are left to wonder how this political storm will ultimately play out. At the same time, Henyard's attempts to cling to power have only deepened the divide within the community. The question remains, will she find a way out of this legal and political quagmire, or will the growing public hostility force her to step down as the situation unfolds? One thing is clear, the saga of Dalton's local government is far from over, and the drama is far from finished. The controversy surrounding Henyard's leadership goes beyond just meeting locations. Her refusal to comply with state regulations and the growing public discontent with her handling of village board meetings have led to serious questions about her ethics, leadership, and commitment to the community. The Illinois Attorney General's office had pointed out that the village hall was too small to accommodate the growing number of residents wishing to attend the meetings. State law mandates that public meetings be held in larger venues when necessary to ensure transparency and participation. Yet, Henyard repeatedly ignored these warnings, insisting that the meetings take place at the village hall despite the obvious limitations. As the situation became increasingly untenable, the Park District offered a larger, more accessible venue that complied with state regulations. However, Henyard remained opposed, arguing that the Park District was an inappropriate venue for government meetings. Her defiance only escalated tensions, with many residents seeing it as a blatant disregard for their needs and concerns. Henyard's actions reached a boiling point during one of the Park District meetings when she arrived late, made provocative remarks, and then left abruptly, defiantly declaring, "I am the mayor of the village of Dalton." Her grandstanding was met with boos and jeers from the crowd, who made their disapproval clear. Rather than using this moment for self-reflection, Henyard doubled down on her position, shifting the focus from the venue choice to an increasingly hostile legal battle. She filed a lawsuit against the Park District and several village trustees, claiming that the meetings held at the Park District were unlawful, despite the clear directives from state officials. This legal action raised serious questions about Henyard's motives. Was she genuinely trying to protect the law, or was she simply trying to retain control over village operations and her position as mayor? Critics, including trustee Jason House, have argued that her actions are less about governance and more about power. House, who has worked tirelessly to ensure that meetings remain open and accessible, consistently defended the Park District venue, emphasizing that it allows for a more democratic and inclusive process. However, Henyard's refusal to cooperate with her colleagues and her erratic behavior at meetings have turned each gathering into a spectacle, leaving others to clean up the mess she creates. The growing divide between Henyard and the village trustees deepens the rift within the community. Her continued defiance has raised serious concerns about her ability to lead and collaborate effectively. The legal troubles didn't end with the venue dispute. Recently, a county judge issued a restraining order preventing Henyard from making key appointments to the village's leadership team without approval from the village board. The order followed Henyard's attempts to appoint a new village attorney, administrator, and police chief without consulting the board. These decisions are traditionally subject to board approval to ensure transparency and collective decision-making. The trustees filed a lawsuit, arguing that Henyard was overstepping her authority, and the judge sided with them. Despite the restraining order, Henyard seemed undeterred, continuing to make appointments to key positions in the village in defiance of the court's ruling. By disregarding the restraining order, she risks further alienating herself from the legal system and the community. Her defiant stance suggests that she believes the consequences of defying the court will not be severe enough to deter her from pushing forward with her agenda. However, each defiant act chips away at public trust and undermines her authority, sending the message that she is more interested in retaining control than following the rules that govern her position. In addition to these legal challenges, Henyard is facing even more serious accusations. Allegedly, the FBI has opened an inquiry into claims of financial mismanagement and corruption involving the mayor. Rumors have been circulating that Henyard has been using her political position for personal gain, enriching herself and her inner circle at the expense of the residents she was elected to serve. Accusations of bribery and awarding questionable contracts to her friends and family have emerged, raising concerns about the integrity of local governance. The most shocking development came when Henyard's longtime boyfriend, reportedly disillusioned with her actions, took the stand to testify against her. His testimony revealed explosive details of Henyard's alleged corruption, including claims that she had used public funds for personal expenses, lavish trips, and expensive purchases. He also testified that she had been awarding lucrative contracts to her friends and family without proper oversight, a practice known as nepotism. The fallout from these revelations has been swift and severe. Dalton residents, who once trusted Henyard as their leader, have taken to social media in droves to express their outrage. The hashtag #ResignHenyard has been trending, with many demanding answers and an immediate investigation. The public is furious, questioning how a leader they once believed was working in their best interests could have used her position to line her own pockets while neglecting the people she was elected to serve. As the investigation continues, the demand for Henyard's resignation grows louder. The revelations of her alleged corruption have ignited a firestorm of public outrage, and it's clear that the community will not rest until there is accountability. The fallout from this scandal will likely continue to dominate headlines for months, if not longer, as residents come to terms with the possibility that their mayor has been engaging in illegal activities that have severely undermined the welfare of the village. What began as a simple dispute over village board meetings has now spiraled into a full-blown corruption scandal, and Henyard's political future is hanging in the balance. The investigation is ongoing, and the community is calling for accountability. The question remains, can Henyard weather the storm, or will she ultimately be forced to step down? Her actions have already caused deep divisions in the village, and it seems the consequences of her behavior will be felt for years to come. Tiffany Henyard's tenure as mayor of Dalton, Illinois, has reached a breaking point, with many of her once loyal supporters now questioning her leadership. After months of escalating legal battles, scandals, and accusations, even those who stood by her are starting to lose faith. Henyard's attempts to portray the ongoing crises as politically motivated attacks have become harder to believe as new revelations continue to emerge. Her strategy of shifting blame onto others is falling flat, and with each new scandal, defending her actions is becoming more difficult. At the core of this growing crisis are the village trustees, who have been working tirelessly to keep Dalton running despite Henyard's constant interference. The trustees have done their best to keep the community's needs met in the face of her defiance, but with the mayor actively undermining their efforts, their job has become nearly impossible. Henyard has openly defied court orders, including a restraining order that prohibited her from making key appointments without the board's approval. Her blatant disregard for the law is destabilizing the entire village. At one point, a judge even threatened to jail Henyard for continuing to violate the restraining order, a move that seemed unthinkable for any other public official. Yet, Henyard shows no signs of backing down, continuing to act as though the rules simply do not apply to her. It's as though she is daring the legal system to enforce the law, treating it like a game of brinksmanship. Her behavior is increasingly reminiscent of a political protagonist immune to accountability. The situation has left the village in a state of crisis, with trustees forced to navigate a maze of legal challenges and constant disruptions. Henyard's ongoing interference has made it nearly impossible for them to move forward. Trust in her leadership has eroded to the point where even her closest allies are questioning her ability to govern. With every new scandal and lawsuit, Henyard only adds to the dysfunction, further alienating Dalton residents. The growing frustration among trustees has led to a hostile atmosphere, with Henyard's refusal to cooperate making it feel as though the village is on the brink of collapse. It has become clear that her stubbornness and disregard for the law have created an environment where progress is impossible, and any hope for resolution seems increasingly distant. The sense of dissatisfaction among residents is palpable, and many are starting to question whether Henyard's grip on power is worth the chaos it's causing. As tensions continue to escalate, it is becoming clear that Dalton is at a crossroads. The legal battles, public scandals, and constant drama have left the village in a state of uncertainty, with no clear path forward. Henyard, however, continues to portray herself as a martyr, insisting that she is the victim of a politically motivated attack designed to discredit her ahead of the next election. She repeatedly denies the mounting evidence against her, claiming that all of her actions have been in the village's best interest. But as the evidence against her grows, it's becoming harder for the public to believe this narrative. The stakes for Henyard are incredibly high. If accusations of financial mismanagement prove true, Dalton's finances could be devastated. If Henyard is found guilty of misusing public funds, the village could face an immediate financial crisis, and residents would likely bear the fallout. The potential for Henyard to be removed from office, either through legal action or forced resignation, adds to the uncertainty gripping the village. Yet, Henyard remains defiant, refusing to take responsibility for her actions. Her insistence that she is being unfairly vilified only deepens the divisions within the community, and many residents are now questioning whether they can trust her to lead them forward. The situation has left many wondering if Henyard will ever face serious consequences for her actions. There is growing skepticism about the legal system's ability to hold her accountable, with some observers doubting that she will ever serve a day in prison despite the severity of the accusations against her. One online commenter remarked that instead of working for the success of the village, Henyard appears to have used public funds for her own gain, paying others to cover up her actions. This growing sense of doubt is compounded by the ongoing drama, leaving residents frustrated, helpless, and disillusioned with their leadership. Dalton is at a breaking point. The community is divided, and the uncertainty surrounding Henyard's future has sparked widespread speculation. Will she finally be held accountable for her actions, or will she find a way to weather the storm and cling to power? Residents are watching closely, their frustration growing as they wait for answers. Many are asking whether Henyard will be removed from office, or whether she will escape the consequences of her alleged misdeeds. The future of Dalton is uncertain, and with each passing day, things seem to be getting worse. Henyard's repeated violations of court orders and her ongoing interference in village affairs have created a toxic environment that makes progress feel impossible. The trustees are doing their best to keep the village running, but their efforts are continually undermined by the mayor's actions. With the community already in crisis, it's hard to see a way forward that doesn't involve significant changes in leadership. Henyard's grip on power is weakening, but the question remains, will the legal system finally hold her accountable? Will the pressure from residents and the mounting evidence of her wrongdoing be enough to force her to step down, or will she continue to fight back, attempting to retain control over the village as the situation unfolds? It is clear that Dalton is at a critical juncture. The future of the village and the leadership that will steer it forward remains in question. The community is waiting, hoping for a resolution that will bring stability and accountability. Whether Henyard can navigate her way out of this mess and restore faith in her leadership, or whether the weight of the evidence against her will force her to step down, is yet to be seen. One thing is certain, the residents of Dalton are watching closely, and their voices will be heard as this high-stakes drama continues to play out.